Yeshua was a human man who came to teach us the potential of humanity, because even superhumans are humans who have to endure the limitations of this realm, or there would be no point in their personal evolution to experience it.
My name is Angela Nibley, and I come from a family with history in the Mormon Church. When I was 16 years old, the cognitive dissonance between what I was being taught and what was expected of me was more than I could handle. So, I decided to leave the church. It didn't go well, but I learned how to heal, and that's when life became magical.
Being a part of this realm means that you are here now to experience what the now has to offer. Yeshua intimately understood this fundamental paradox, that to be truly capable of unconditional love, we must accept that we are all microcosms of all that is, which means that we are all made of the dark and the light, the yin and the yang. The light and the dark could not exist without one another. They literally define what the other is, and without the other, there would be no definition to the one. This is contrast, and this is not a bad thing. It is essential to holding the universe together. Without the light, darkness would be empty, and without the dark, the light would be nothingness. It is this contrast that creates line and form, or existence. Do you know anyone who's all saccharine sweetness and love and light with their words, but they fail to acknowledge when they've been hurtful or oppressive? This is because they have a belief that they are only goodness and incapable of badness. So accusing them of badness means you must be mistaken. This compulsion to blame is the result of deep and unprocessed shame. They do not believe they would be worthy of their existence if they were imperfect, which to them is equivalent to badness. This black and white thinking is the result of stunted development due to trauma and neglect in formative years. This is a result of the perfectionism paradigm, wherein people are not allowed to be fallible but well-intentioned and self-repairing humans. This is problematic because it prevents people from taking true accountability when they are behaving harmfully and prohibits them from repatterning these harmful habits. Failing to own one's darkness makes that individual dangerous. Someone who understands that their darkness is part of their divine gifts of existence can find healthy ways to channel the natural impulses that are part of tasting the human experience. And then they have the power to take responsibility for foreseeing potential pitfalls, as well as taking full accountability when they have made mistakes, because we all do. Yeshua understood this brilliantly, and he is one of the best examples, which also makes him one of my favorite tricksters. He was willing to be seen as different and mocked for it, because that was not a good enough reason for him to abandon himself or the undeniable promptings he received. He accepted people who weren't good according to the masses, and he staunchly defended those others deemed discardable because bad. He taught us that as eternal consciousnesses, now is all that we have, and thus, heaven and hell are states of being from which we have the power to choose. And of course, my favorite example is when he flipped the money changers' tables. Did he do this to destroy things out of an egotistical need to have a public tantrum? No. He saw abuse of humanity, and that violation enraged him. And when he experienced that very human reaction, he selectively channeled it into dismantling those systems of abuse, like flipping the tables. This brings me to another point. Why are we so afraid of anger? Because people who do not take responsibility for their darkness let their anger turn to indiscriminate violence. But anger is precious communication from our nervous systems, telling us that our boundaries have been violated. This is where it gets tricky, because being violated is not the same as the ego perceiving an irrational violation. For example, not liking what someone else is wearing or how they're harmlessly living their life is not an attack on you, and it is none of your business. However, thinking that it's your place to police a body that is not yours is an actual violation of their sovereignty. This is confusing to people without nuance who have immature egos in states of arrested development. We are meant to be sovereign and autonomous over our own selves and no one else. Even parenting is about helping children become independent and sovereign, not dependent and beholden. That desire for control is the sign of a severely broken ego.
While I have your attention, remember to like and subscribe. And if you'd like to express your rage to your community at large, check out my groovy merch.
Yeshua came to teach personal power and independence through radically accepting responsibility for ourselves as masters of our own selves, which is how we best emulate our divine creator. People looking to assert dominance or dominion over others are people in such a personal state of powerlessness that instead of taking responsibility for their own lot, they deflect, project, and blame badness onto others, who they then feel entitled to control. Who does that sound like? As far as Mormonism is specifically concerned, I noticed an alarming trend of adult perpetual infantilization, which keeps people entitled and stuck in these horrific patterns of behavior because the demand for obedience to prophet and church supersedes one's own inner, God-given compass if it does not go with the Mormon masses, which, wouldn't you know, is the power structure that continues to benefit at the cost of individuals, couples, and the families they profess to be so invested in. But this is relevant to all structures of the matrix looking to control you and your resources. So, how do we address the shame? We have to feel the shame that's already in our bodies. If you've been conditioned with shaming tactics, you have likely survived by repressing that shame into your body. You must let it wriggle its way up to be disinfected by the sunlight. You have to own every uncomfortable moment. We are under the illusion that bad feelings last forever if we face them, but that is an illusion to keep you stuck. Does it hurt? It can. It's definitely uncomfortable, but when you allow yourself to sit and feel it all without judging you or it, you recognize that it's just a story your body has been holding on to, and that story isn't even true. This means that in a relatively short amount of time, you can potentially experience a huge release. And while you will need to do this every time new shame comes up, once you uproot that fractal of shame, that fractal is permanently uprooted. It can take several episodes over periods of time to do this if you've got a real shame monster lurking. But know that every time you face it and feel it and release it, you have made marked progress that will catch up to you very quickly if you keep weeding the shames that wish to bind you. If your shame issues are particularly deep, you might need an enlightened therapist or support system to help walk you through this so you can safely learn how. And make sure you take the appropriate precautions you need before starting on a new healing modality. Make sure you take responsibility in meeting your own needs and determining how to proceed, since everyone and their needs are different. But permanently repressing shame has damaging consequences, and healing shame is one of the most freeing, empowering choices you can make. Why is that? Well, what is shame? Shame is the belief that you are unworthy of your existence. Learning that you are worthy of your existence and love and belonging, even if you make mistakes, makes you empowered to make amends. Whereas a lot of people stuck in shame cycles think that punishing themselves in private rituals is some kind of restitution. It is not. It is not. It is not. It does not address the harm caused, and it perpetuates the same behavior, which will cause more harm that will not be made right either. This is pathologically dangerous.
Yeshua had the purest of hearts, and we know he regularly washed his hands since he even washed other people's feet. But he had to learn and demonstrate lessons through human trial and error. If he were cut from a different cloth than we are, then it would be futile to attempt to be like him. And we are meant to emulate his example if we want similar manifestations of character. Those things he did, and more, are what he promised we are capable of. Emulating him, choosing to embody his light en masse as a populace, is the second coming of the Christ. It's up to us to choose whether we are participants or not. whether we will save ourselves or not. He was the way shower. It is our responsibility to take on that mantle if we want to follow in his footsteps. The rituals glorifying him are often distracting, irrelevant spectacle, and you don't even have to believe in him. What matters is if you are living the formula he demonstrated by taking full responsibility for yourself to have the cleanest hands and purest heart you can, which doesn't mean your hands never get dirty. It means taking right action to wash them when they do. That is the foundation of self-respect, which is the antidote to shame. And that is how you begin to respect all of the divine's creations.
Yeshua's objective was to show everyone he encountered that they were inherently worthy of their existence, of being loved, and of being accepted, even if they were silly enough to be a human, and everything inherently cringe that comes with that. Because to be cringy is to be human, and to forgive yourself for that is divine. I hope I've shown you the divinity in taking responsibility for the darkness that God gifted to you. And remember, you take care of the goose for the health of the gander, so we can all be golden. Thanks for watching.